What do you think about games journalism?
I think it's fine. I don't think about it much, I suppose. I don't really find like the game review to be too terribly interesting. I mean, I don't like figuring out scores and rankings and best of lists and all that. I think I'm done with all that myself. I like game analysis and like sort of in-depth sort of thoughts about things. I like covering the industry, principled exposés and shining lights on like bad behavior and whistleblowing and things like that, and coverage of events. And there's lots of good journalism to be had. I mean, um, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I said the other day that I don't interact with games journalism much anymore. And I guess
Mm,
like
yeah.
that's mostly true, but like I actually have recently because I've been playing my PS2 more. I actually have been looking up like these lists of like the top 25 greatest first-person shooters for PS2 and like stuff like that um, recently. So I guess I do interact with it somewhat.
Yeah, yeah, it's useful for that sort of thing, I suppose. I mean, it's yeah, it can definitely that sort of thing can definitely be useful, but mm,
Do you think
has
that
its
the
place.
do you think that the games press was largely open and willing to hear out critics?
Mm. Um, so I guess there's okay. So there's like a thing that happened recently that I want to sort of make a comparison to. There's this whole thing recently with Linus Tech Tips, where another channel, Gamers Nexus, sort of made this video to be like, hey, Linus Tech Tips, you're like not doing great. Like, here's all the things you've kind of like dropped the ball on. You've had all this misinformation. Your team is kind of like burning out and like working too hard. All these things are happening. And they made this principled video that like went over it all. And in response, Linus Tech Tips shut down production for over a week, focus on addressing all the issues that was raised, improve their tooling, sort of like figuring out their work culture and like work-life balance and everything. Well, their workflows to sort of solidify the sort of integrity of what they're doing. And that sort of worked very well. And the relationship between Linus Tech Tips and Gamers Nexus, I feel like, isn't bad. It wasn't this thing where like someone got called out and like there's this bad blood now. And I think it's because it was done in sort of a productive way. So is the games press open to listen to critics? Like it could be if done in a productive way, but if it's an angry mob at the door, sort of shit flinging and harassing your staff and harassing people out of their homes in fear, it is good to take a strong stance against that and sort of not compromise on commitment to safety and ethics, because it is sort of the nature of games journalism is that you do intersect a lot with online communities, and unfortunately, like there's going to be this minority of community that's going to be highly vocal, highly terminally online, and it is kind of a workspace hazard of sorts that if you're going to be doing stuff here, like there might be shit that happens. So I think it's good to, when you're one of these outlets, to sort of have contingencies, how to like prioritize the safety of your employees. So in that scenario, if that's the sort of tripwire you trip, I don't think the games press is going to be terribly receptive. I think they're going to be trying to prioritize other things.
Elisa in the chat says, Hannah seems cool, to be honest. I may not agree with all of her takes, but she seems cool regardless. Let her know
Hey,
that a chick that was on the pro side thinks that she seems like a cool person, lol.
ah, thank you. Mm,
Have you talked with Lisa before?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. Mm.
Oh, well, I could set that conversation up sometime if you want. Or actually, you're both in the Discord. You can probably set it up yourselves. If you want a
Mm.
moderator, I can moderate, or I can get you in touch with the moderator.
Okay, maybe. Gosh, and then we had a prior appointment to appointments weird. We're gonna do this earlier, this interview, and I had to like delay it because I was like stuff came up.
Yeah, that's fine. Stuff
I tend to
happens.
be I tend to be a little busy, so I can't promise anything. But yeah.
Were there any reforms that you would have liked to have seen happen?
Um, 'Cause I guess like the issue is never that like the journalism reforms Gamergate were calling for were ever bad. Like like the quality of those things were not really the issue. It's just sort of again the wagon they hitched their horse to. Like, and it was kind of more pressing to sort of push back on that. So it's just sort of if they if all the reforms that sort of proposed sort of were enacted, that would have been great. It's just sort of unfortunate that it had to be as part of Gamergate, I suppose. Mm.
Hi, I'm Tachyon Blue. Thank you for watching another one of my GamerGate book video segments. Altogether, I've interviewed over 70 people involved with GamerGate, and I'm going to be launching a Kickstarter campaign in the coming weeks. So please, I need your support to help make this project a reality. I'm turning these 70 plus interviews into a multi-volume series of books, the first volume of which is already completed. And so I'd like you to please stay tuned for more information about the Kickstarter. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and comment. More updates will be coming in the near future. Thank you, and take care.